So given the function, we want to come up with an equation for this. Now, generally, it hasn't really been asked if it's sine or cosine, but generally cosine is easier since it's easier to locate the starting position of a cosine graph, which is the maximum point. Okay, the starting position of a sine graph would be the middle, which sometimes is a little bit harder to find, given that we're usually given maximum points. Okay, so how do I find this function? Well, I need an amplitude. I need a period. Okay, so you need the period, t. I need a horizontal shift. The horizontal shift is going to be dependent on whether we're dealing with sine or cos, because they're different. And then lastly, we need a vertical shift. Okay, so the vertical shift is a position. So I'm going to start there. The position is a location of that middle point, and to find the location or middle location, I can use average. So if I want to find the average coordinate, I'm just going to maybe space this out, or the average position, vertical position, I can use the average formula. And so I can take the max position of 5 plus the minimum position of -2 and divide by 2, and that's going to give me the middle position. In this case, it's going to be 3 divided by 2, or 1.5. Okay, so this is y equals 1.5. If I want to find an amplitude, amplitude is a distance or length. Length on the coordinate plane can be found by subtraction. So if I want to find the vertical length between A and B, the difference in height between A and B, I can subtract. So I can take the maximum value of y and find the difference from the minimum value of y. Okay, and that's going to give me the distance between those 2 points. So in this case, it's going to be +7. Well, we don't want positive or negative, so we're just going to take the absolute value of that, because amplitude is a distance, so we don't need to go up or down. But the amplitude is not the full distance from top to bottom. The amplitude is only half the distance. So we're going to take that and divide it by 2. And this works out to be 5 plus 2 divided by 2 is 3.5. So we have an amplitude of 3.5. And we can count this, right? 3.5. That's going to be at 1.5, so up to 5, down to -2. Okay, so we need a period here. Now the period is also a distance. It's a length. It's a horizontal length, though. So we need to then look at horizontal positions. If I subtract coordinates, I get lengths or distance. If I want to know the distance between A and B, I'm going to take the position 3 pi over 2 and subtract pi over 2. Okay, that distance will give me that difference gives me the distance between A and B. It gives me that length here. That length actually only represents half a period, because my full period ends up being back to the top. So to get the full period, I need to first of all take an absolute value, because it's a length and we don't need positive and negatives in lengths, and then times that by 2 to get a full period. Okay, that gives me the total distance from start to finish. And so that works out to be, if I subtract, I get pi times 2 gives me a period of 2 pi. So from A to the next max, that's going to be 2 pi. So from A to the next max is a distance of 2 pi, which if I wanted to locate that position, I would just go plus pi to B, plus 1 more pi to get to that top part. Okay, so those are the main parts here. Now, before I get the horizontal shift, I'm just going to write the function. I'm going to write this as a cosine function to start. So y equals cosine. We have our b value, a horizontal shift, and we have a vertical shift. Okay, so starting with a value, we know that a value relates to the amplitude. So that a value is going to be 3.5. The number on the outside is our vertical shift. So plus 1.5 or 3 over 2. The compression factor is just 1, so we can just put a 1 in there. We don't really need the 1, but there it is. And then we now have, lastly, our horizontal shift. Our horizontal shift is going to depend on whether it's cosine or sine. So our horizontal shift for cosine, I'll put that in brackets, is going to be the max point. So it's going to be plus pi over 2. So it's going to, we can just write it as minus pi over 2. That would be the easiest way to do it. In general, cosine is easier. I think I've written it down here somewhere. Yeah, in general, cosine function is easier because the starting point of cosine, or the horizontal shift, is based on the maximum coordinate. So there it is. For sine, it's slightly different. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite sine. So this is done now. But if I had to do it with sine, everything would be the same except for the horizontal shift. So we still have we still have an amplitude of 3.5. We still have a vertical shift of 1.5. Our period is still the same, so our compression factor is the same. But our horizontal shift for sine was going to be different. And it's going to be based on that position there. And so we'd have to go 1 quadrant or 1/4 period backwards. In this case, it works out really nice because 1/4 period is pi over 2, so it takes us back to 0. So we end up with a shift of 0 for the sine function. Now that doesn't always work out nicely, so we may have to move from one of the vertices to the middle point to be able to get that sine shift. So here it is. The sine was a shift of 0. There's no shift if we want to express this as a sine function.